Okay, Chief Seal, I think we're ready to go.
Great, thank you very much. And again, I want to welcome everyone. My name is Lee Seal. I'm the Chief of the Probation Department and the Chair of the CCP. Thank you for your patience tonight and welcome. Tonight represents an opportunity for us to provide some information to the community. It also, more importantly, perhaps provides an opportunity for community and the public to begin what we hope is really the beginning of some meaningful public participation, not just tonight, but ongoing as part of our AB 109 plan. I will ask that for those members of the CCP who are joining us, please be sure to mute your phones or your speakers so that we don't catch any inadvertent background noise. Thank you to all the members of the public for your patience as we work through the continuing challenges of the pandemic and what it means to do all of this remotely, both with public participation and members of the CCP. I'm going to move somewhat quickly through our part of the meeting tonight because we really do want to prioritize telephonic participation from the community. I will say that we have already received a couple of emailed comments. There is a opportunity to email your comments tonight. We will read those. We will consider them. They're an important part of community input, so please feel free to do that, and we've already received some tonight. This meeting, the genesis of it really comes out of our last CCP meeting in the first part of December. At that meeting, we heard from members of the community that there was a desire for much greater opportunity for public participation in the AB 109 plan. We talked about the fact that we have currently a vacancy on our CCP membership roster. There was a desire both on the part of the CCP and the public to ensure that we're moving quickly to get that filled and a public, transparent process to do that. We received some input regarding the need to really upgrade our website a little bit, make it a little bit better user-friendly and public-facing, and update it with more accurate information about ongoing this workshop and opportunities for public participation. And then to obviously create a process associated with that website so that people can participate both on the CCP if they choose to seek that open spot. We'll talk about that tonight. And then Ms. York will also talk about other opportunities to participate in the AB 109 plan as a member of the advisory work group, and we'll talk about that. So this is obviously our attempt to take a step forward to answer, be responsive to that community input. We're proud of the quick work we've done to stand up a website and create an application process. We're going to walk you through that tonight. There will not be any votes tonight, so we're not here to take a vote or do anything along those lines. What we're here to do is to provide some transparent information to the public and to really receive public input and begin that process of community engagement. I will let everyone know that the CCP has planned we have on our schedule a meeting for February 4th, which is just a few weeks away. Again, this is in response to community input and the CCP, a desire to move quickly to create these opportunities for public participation on our website and through our website on the plan, and to fill that position on the CCP. So we need to move quickly to do that by broadcasting this information tonight as part of our workshop, and then creating an opportunity for the CCP to formally get together on February 4th to make a recommendation for the appointment of one position and perhaps make some decisions about applicants to the advisory work group. So with that, I want to begin tonight by first going around and giving an opportunity to those CCP members who have joined us tonight to both introduce themselves. Please give us your name, your title, and if you'd like maybe a sentence about the agency that you represent. In a few cases, I trust that the public knows who you are, but it doesn't hurt. And for a few of the newer faces on the CCP. I'm sure the public would love to know who you are and your role here tonight. So I'm sorry, before we do that, I need to kick it over to Greg. I need someone to nudge me a little bit from long distance when I go skip an agenda item. We do need to make an announcement, so I'll kick it over to the clerk to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief Seal. This meeting of the Sacramento Community Corrections Partnership is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at Metro 14 Live, that's metro14live.saccounty.net. Today's meeting will replay Sunday, January 24th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. Also, in compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, you will be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make a verbal comment. In order to include as many comments as possible, comments will be limited to 1 minute, and the public comment period will be closed at 7 p.m. Written comments are always accepted. You can send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. Also, just a few best practices to follow. Please speak from a handset or headset. Mute your phone if you aren't speaking, and please announce yourself before speaking.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, with that, let's now go around and make some formal introductions for those CCP members who are joining us tonight telephonically. Let me start with the district attorney. Go ahead and please introduce yourself.
Hi, Chief Seal. Sam Marie Schubert, District Attorney of Sacramento County. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to listen to the input. So thank you.
Thank you very much. The public defender?
Hi, this is Steve Garrett, Sacramento County's public defender. Look forward to hearing what everyone has to say, and thank you very much.
Thank you. We have with us, I believe, the Chief Fiscal Officer for the county.
Yes, thank you, Chief Seal. It's Britt Ferguson. I'm the county's Chief Fiscal Officer, and I'm representing the Board of Supervisors on the CCP.
Thank you, Britt. We also have the Deputy County Executive of Social Services.
Hi, Chief. It's Bruce Wagstaff here, Deputy County Executive for Social Services. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Do we have Jim Hunt with us on the phone tonight?
Yes, you do. Jim Hunt, the Acting Director of Health Services. I'm filling in while we look for a permanent Director of Health Services.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and welcome to the county. Welcome back, I think I should say. We have a representative of the Superior Court.
Hello, this is Kelly Sullivan. I'm the Chief Deputy Director of the Sacramento Superior Court, here representing Judge Hom.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. We also have the Sacramento Police Department represented with us tonight.
Good evening, Dave Paletta, Deputy Chief, Sacramento Police Department, oversee our Metro Division. Glad to be a part of this committee. And I also want to apologize. I have to leave a little bit early this meeting to kind of wrap up some of the efforts that we had regarding the inauguration over the week. So thank you.
We understand, and thank you very much for joining us. The County Office of Education is with us tonight.
Yes, Dave Gordon, the County Superintendent of Schools. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Was there anyone I passed over or did not mention?
Sheriff's Department.
Do we have a representative of the Sheriff's Department?
This is Santos Ramos, Chief Deputy over Corrections for the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you very much. And I did not intend to skip you. I did not hear your voice earlier. I'm glad to have you with us tonight. Thank you very much. Anyone else who I may have inadvertently passed over? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. As I said, it's a pleasure to have everyone gathered here tonight for this workshop. We're going to turn it over to Catherine York, who many of you are familiar with, who staffs the CCP, does a tremendous amount of work. She's going to give a little bit of background about our AB 109 plan. She's going to tell us a little bit about the CCP itself. She's going to talk about, finally, opportunities for participation, both membership on the CCP in the vacant position that we have, as well as opportunities to participate in the work group. So over to you, Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Seal. Can you guys hear me okay? So there's a PowerPoint presentation that's been posted on the meeting webpage along with other materials. And it's really just to provide everybody an overview of what the Community Corrections Partnership is, as well as the AB 109 plan. So the purpose of the Community Corrections Partnership was established by legislation as the body responsible for developing the plan, the AB 109 plan, that advises the Board of Supervisors on specific programming needs to implement provisions of AB 109 public safety realignment legislation. Public safety realignment legislation was enacted to reduce the number of state prison inmates. It shifted responsibility for specified lower-level, non-serious, non-violent, non-sex offender populations from the state to counties. The Community Corrections Partnership members are codified in Penal Code Section 1230, which specifies the Chief of Probation Officer as the chair of the Community Corrections Partnership, and it includes a presiding judge of the Superior Court, or his or her designee, county supervisor or chief administrative officer for the county, the district attorney, the public defender, the sheriff, a chief of police, the head of the county Department of Social Services, the head of the county Department of Mental Health, the head of the county Department of Employment, the head of the county Alcohol and Substance Abuse Programs, the head of the county Office of Education, a representative from a community-based organization with experience in successfully providing rehabilitative services to persons who have been convicted of a criminal offense, and an individual who represents the interests of victims. The CCP includes a full committee and an executive committee. The members just listed were part of the full committee, were the full committee. Both are chaired by the Chief Probation Officer. The executive committee has voting authority and includes the chief of police, the sheriff, the district attorney, the public defender, the presiding judge of the Superior Court or his or her designee, a representative from either County Department of Social Services, Mental Health, or Alcohol and Substance Abuse Programs, as appointed by the County Board of Supervisors. The AB 109 Public Safety Realignment Plan is a report that advises the Board of Supervisors on specific programming needed to implement the provisions of public safety realignment legislation. The CCP Executive Committee votes on the AB 109 plan. The CCP recommends the local AB 109 plan to the County Board of Supervisors. The AB 109 plan is deemed accepted by the Board of Supervisors unless it is rejected by a vote of 4/5 of the board, in which case the AB 109 plan goes back to the CCP for further consideration. AB 109 Public Safety Realignment funding provides a dedicated and permanent revenue stream to counties through vehicle license fees and a portion of the state sales tax. The CCP does not make realignment funding decisions. The CCP can only identify what is needed to implement provisions of realignment legislation through the AB 109 plan submitted to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors decides the distribution of realignment funds allocated to the county through the annual budget process. Community Corrections Partnership member vacancy. There's a member vacancy for a representative from a community-based organization with experience in successfully providing rehabilitative services to persons who have been convicted of a criminal offense. If you're interested, please submit an application by 5 p.m. on January 27th, 2021, if you would like to be considered for this member position. The vacant member position will be appointed by the Board of Supervisors, and the application can be accessed on the CCP webpage. You'll hear more about that a little bit later. The Community Corrections Partnership Advisory Work Group is replacing the original statistical working group to provide recommendations to the CCP regarding additional AB 109 plan updates. CCP Advisory Work Group includes local agency stakeholder and community representatives. The CCP Advisory Work Group community members will be selected from applications due by 5 p.m. on January 27th, 2021. Preference will be given to people with lived experience from being formerly incarcerated. And the application for both the advisory work group openings as well as the CCP member vacancy are available on the CCP webpage, which is the last slide here. Additional information, in addition to those applications, there's tons of other information available there. And that ends the slideshow. Next, I'll kick it off back to Chief Seal for a presentation on the updates made to the webpage.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Catherine. So let me just make one other comment, kind of a prefatory comment at the outset. I know we got started a couple minutes late while we worked through a couple issues. I have asked other CCP members if they're available to stay beyond the stated time of 6:30. We really do want to make ourselves available for public input. So for those of you who are watching the time and you may be waiting on the phone and are a little bit worried about our schedule tonight, I'm certainly committed to staying here beyond the 6:30 time frame to continue to hear some community input, and I think others will be a part of that as well. So I do want to emphasize that. So you heard about the two openings that we will be considering. One has kind of a formal statutory language around eligibility for participation on the CCP. That is a board appointment, as Catherine said, but the other opportunity to work maybe even in a more hands-on manner on the work plan itself would be as part of the work group. And there's an application. It's the same link online. We're going to take a look at it in just a second here. It provides information how to apply to both of those opportunities. So why don't we go ahead and we'll play this video, and it'll tell you a little bit about what's available on our new website and how you apply to these positions.
In response to feedback from the community, Probation has redesigned the Community Corrections Partnership website to create a user-friendly environment that houses meeting and membership information and AB 109 public safety realignment resources. The CCP website is contained within the Probation Department's website. From the Probation's Department homepage, hover over the Resources tab, and then in the drop-down menu, click on the link Community Corrections Partnership. The CCP homepage contains a short description of the purpose of the CCP and the county's AB 109 plan. Below this, the left column contains current meeting information, including date, time, place, location, log-on information for virtual meetings, meeting flyers and agenda, a meeting call-in number for making comments, and our CCP contact information. The right column provides CCP membership requirements for both the CCP and the CCP Advisory Work Group, and most importantly, a fillable PDF application form that contains instructions for completing and submitting a membership application. This column also links to the meeting archives. The info box menu on the right side of the page contains links to a wealth of resources that will help the public become educated about the origins and history of the CCP. This info box is repeated on all CCP web pages and provides users fast access to membership information, CCP board agenda items, bylaws, long-term implementation plans, and answers to frequently asked questions about realignment.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you very much. I will say that I see a couple of emails from the public that there may have been some issues with the public comment line down, but thankfully I also have received an email now saying that issue is resolved. So I mentioned that. We can take a look at it, and perhaps the clerk can confirm that we've got the public comment line available.
We do have 4 calls in the queue right now.
Okay, perfect. So it looks like we've got 4 calls in the queue. We're going to turn to those in just a second. And again, bear with us while we do our best to manage this in a remote fashion. So just to emphasize, we've got a couple of different opportunities for public participation, both on the CCP and as part of the advisory work group. All of that information is online, as you saw in the video. There has been on the county website a news item that provides links to all that information as well. Certainly you can reach out to us in probation or virtually any one of the CC members if there's any issues accessing that information. Our goal is to really do everything we can to make it available. I want to underscore the due date for those applications. It's January 27th at 5 p.m. That's less than a week away. It is not an onerous application. It was just a matter of filling in some information and submitting it. So we really hope that you will consider doing that. Please share it with anyone you think might be interested in it. I'm pleased to hear tonight that we already have several applications received for both the CCP and the advisory work group, so that's good news. It's up and working and ready to go. Let me turn to Catherine and just ask, is there anything else that we should mention before I'll turn first to CCP members and ask for any thoughts or input, comments on what we've set forth tonight, and then we'll go to community input. Anything I'm forgetting?
I just wanted to add the short timeline has to do with us moving forward with the work group so that we can apply any updates to the AB 109 plan needed prior to the budget process. We do need to submit updates to the board. So that's why there's such a short timeline. I apologize to the community for not giving more access at a longer pace, but we want to get things going.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And again, that was something that we heard from the community. Had many comments asking us not to drag this process out and to delay. People wanted an opportunity to participate in the plan as quickly as possible, participate on the CCP as quickly as possible. So we're moving quickly in response to community requests. We really have done our best. I want to thank our team for standing up the website and all the people who've worked on this to do it quickly. So that is the reason for the swiftness here. But we do think that there's been ample time. We encourage people to participate and go ahead and submit your applications. So with that, let me begin with any comments or input from any of the CCP members. Greg, is there a way to do this, or are we just going to ask people to speak up if they'd like?
Easiest way to just to speak up if they would like.
Okay, so why don't I try to moderate this a bit so that we don't have people talking over each other, and I'll just kind of go in order tonight. Any comments or input from Chief Deputy Ramos from the Sheriff's Department?
No, sir, I have no comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert, anything from your office?
No, thank you, Chief Sill.
Thank you. Public Defender's Office, Mr. Steve Garrett.
No, thank you. Nothing to add other than we're looking forward to hearing what people have to say.
Great, thank you. Britt Ferguson.
No, nothing at this time, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce Wagstaff.
No comments, Chief.
Good. Kelly Sullivan.
No comment, Chief. Thank you.
Okay. I'm seeing a theme here, but we'll just finish it off. Jim Hunt.
I'm good.
Thank you. Dave Paletta.
Nothing here, Chief. Thank you.
Okay. Dave Gordon.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, good. Well, that tells me that we've put together a plan that at least meets with what we've been asked to do and what we discussed by the CCP members themselves. We certainly anticipate there'll be some community input, so let's now turn to that, and I'll ask the clerk to begin facilitating telephonic input. Thank you.
Okay, Chief Seal, at this point, we have 5 callers in the queue. Would you like to still hold it to 1 minute, or?
Why don't we give people 2 minutes to make their comments?
Okay.
Thank you.
Could you transfer down the first call, please? Okay. Hello, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Liz Plum. I'm with Decarcerate Sacramento. And I just want to say we're not only here tonight to challenge the use of the committee's funding and their recommendations to the board, but also to question your decision-making processes that determine the freedom of a growing number of individuals in Sacramento County since 2011. We're here to challenge the currency that your committee allots to carceral consultants and voices that historically hold power over the public consultation of community members in historically oppressed communities. Past CCP committee budgets have included funds for consultants, but no funds for community engagement efforts, thus outsourcing community engagement for what you can consider a consultant's, quote, objective expertise. We're here to challenge your ideas of objectivity and how you measure the success of your programs. We're here to ask who gets to define this success, who gets to define alternatives to incarceration, and who gets to define accountability. A report by the Public Policy Institute shows that people assigned as women make up just 5% of the total incarcerated population in California, but they make up 13% of realignment populations. People assigned as women are 2 times as likely to be incarcerated for low-level offenses and are therefore more likely to be impacted by realignment population shifts. Meanwhile, women and gender nonconforming people are more likely to experience violence and abuse in jails and by probation officers, and in addition to being more likely to experience addiction and substance use disorders, which your own committee stated as a need in 2013, and yet has yet to significantly invest in non-carceral treatment centers. The majority of incarcerated and paroled women and gender nonconforming folks are the sole caretakers of children, so their incarceration has deep implications for the survival of entire families. And the rate of incarceration of Black women is higher than any other demographic. Yet people assigned as women are rarely mentioned in your reports on realignment and underreported in county incarceration statistics in general. Assuming that the incarceration of women is marginal promotes the idea that they're a population that is less deserving of attention. This is just one example of how the very questions you ask and choose not to ask impact the attention that is put on your work and the county's entire legal system. The questions you ask impact not only the information that is desperately needed by community, but the very outcomes of your programs. The bottom line is that asking different questions can lead to different impacts, and measuring success by the number of people you are serving is no longer acceptable. We want to see success measured in a decrease of the number of people under the control of the Sheriff and Probation Department, especially Black and Indigenous folks, and especially women and gender nonconforming folks. And there are proven, data-driven ways to do this and increase public safety and public health. We need the Realignment Statistical Working Group to be asking research questions that are informed by a non-carceral perspective, and the public has yet to be informed of who is even on this group. It is past time for the makeup of this work group and of the CCP committee to be made up of a wider range of experiences and identities to inform the outcomes that keep people out of the reach of the legal system through true alternatives to incarceration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please send down the next caller. Hello, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, my name is PJ, he, him. Community voices need to be central to this entire discussion. It's galling that community members' voices in the form of a position on this panel has been missing for over 7 years and has only now become an issue. I'd like to know, it seems y'all have been passing off this money to the sheriff for a number of years. What evidence do you have that it's working? We need transparency on how y'all spend our money. I'm tired of not knowing how effective a service like the sheriff is due to their existence being grandfathered in. I don't trust them. I've seen what they've done, and I've heard they potentially have insurrectionists in their midst. I want transparency in the form of publicly available reports on the effectiveness of the dollars being funneled into sheriff's hands to prove that they're working. I'd also like to see a massive chunk of that money put into projects with community members at the helm who have alternative methods to reduce incarceration rates and to reduce recidivism. I want to know how the jail population is being effectively reduced. Have there been audits of how this money has been used? This is $50 million of my and my neighbors' tax dollars. I want to know that it's being spent responsibly. We need external independent agencies or contractors looking at this data since the county is about as opaque as it gets. I'd like to see a list of all the departments and populations being served and how. A list of performance measures by contractor, as well as a list of general performance measures to be applied to all money spent and reflected by recidivism rates. What is the long-term plan for how community engagement will be done around the CCP? Specifically, what resources will be allotted for community engagement? What percentage of the overall budget of annual CCP funds will go to this effort? Will there be a regular report out of this spending and engagement? The CCP has been very pro-status quo in the last 7 years. Given that that doesn't seem to be having a profound impact on recidivism, how will that approach change? We need all of this to ensure community accountability. Thank you.
Okay, please send down the next call. Hello, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you so much for holding this meeting. My name is Courtney Hanson. I'm with the Incarcerate SAC, and I want to start by highlighting that there were 23 suicide attempts inside our jails this last year. And that is to say that it is long overdue and urgent that we actually implement changes that get people out of jail and stop them from entering. This body holds power over many millions of dollars and should be committed to real community engagement that centers the lived experiences of those most impacted by our jails. Why has the community member position been vacant for over 6 years, even though it's required by law? Back in 2011, your report to the BSCC stated that you would, quote, create public outreach and education workshops and, quote, include perspectives of community-based orgs deeply devoted to best practices for reentry, including the perspectives of formerly incarcerated people. And you also stated that up to 33% of the jail population could be diverted. The most significant drop we've seen was nearly 30% earlier this year due to COVID-related releases. Why couldn't system actors maintain this lower population? The research-based findings you named in your report to BSCC highlight just how possible decarceration actually is. These were your points. The vast majority of defendants who are released awaiting their case return for all court appearances and remain arrest-free while they're on release. Release on recognizance and other non-financial forms of release are as effective, if not better, than financial methods of release in assuring appearance and minimizing pretrial arrest. The establishment of effective pretrial release recommendation procedures can lead to significant reductions in the pretrial population without increasing the rates of rearrest or non-appearance. And this one's important. The risk of non-appearance or of serious pretrial crime does not appear to increase with the seriousness of the original charge. This means that painting people who make mistakes or cause harm as violent monsters who must be incarcerated while they await trial is not based in reality, and therefore we shouldn't be excluding so many people from our diversion efforts or emergency COVID releases for that matter. And many non-appearances are due to systemic problems and barriers, and data shows that a simple text message, transportation, or childcare is often what is needed to ensure a court appearance. And Seal, Mr. Seal, I have heard you name this, so I know you all are very aware of this. One day in jail can cause people to lose their jobs, their kids, sometimes their life. Marshall Miles died after being in our jail for just 14 hours. We need to expand actual alternatives to incarceration, not alternative forms of incarceration like electronic monitoring, which destabilizes entire families in very similar ways to actually sitting in jail. I know this because I've had that experience myself. Alameda County earmarked 50% of realignment funds for reentry, mainly housing, and Contra Costa 60%. These are the types of recommendations you can make to the Board of Supervisors, and that's what needs to happen to rebuild trust with the community. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Please send down the next caller. Thank you, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, good evening. My name is Edward Salas, and I would like to, and I'm a professional of over 40 years in the juvenile justice system, I'd like to address the public safety realignment, and that the money should, in Sacramento County, should go to fund prevention and intervention, especially since there has been a rash of violence in the last several months in the county of Sacramento, and that they be trauma-informed alternatives, and also that we need to be transparent with these funds. What are the reports? Where are the reports and the breakdown of who's getting what kind of money? How is this money being spent? That is part of the bill, AB 109. Also, that we must publish the data. How do we in the community know where our public monies are being spent? These are public monies. We need to understand as service providers, which I am, how to best address the needs of the community, whether they be adults or juveniles. And lastly, I'd like to say that rather than having an input type of call-in process like this, that we need a community engagement. We need to have a meeting where the community will have a chance to have a voice. This is all very basic, and it's also part of the public safety realignment AB 109 process. So I would like to thank you for your time, and I hope that the money goes to prevention programs, that we are transparent, that we can publish some data, and then lastly, that we have some public engagement with where these monies are being spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, please send down the next call. Hi, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Matthew, and I'm calling to demand that you spend the majority of and direct the vast majority of AB 109 funding to community-based treatment and non-carceral, trauma-informed, and culturally relevant alternatives to incarceration outside of the legal system, as well as that you increase and drastically increase your transparency around how the funds are currently being spent. We have not seen reports that break down past spending, but we really need to see those. We need to see your transparency. Please publish data publicly on recidivism rates in Sacramento County, broken down by race. And we also demand that you implement more meaningful public engagement, not just short meetings like this for input. And that public engagement needs to be in partnership with other community-based organizations. We need to see significantly expanded community presence on the CCP. I know that you have one seat that's been vacant for 6 years, and that's simply not enough for something that impacts so many communities and families in Sacramento County. There's so much potential here with the AB 109 funding, and right now it feels like it's being squandered. So please, we ask again, community-based treatment, non-carceral, trauma-informed alternatives to incarceration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please send down the next caller. Hi, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your public comments. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Henry Ortiz. I'm a community organizer with All of Us or None and a community healer with communityhealers.org. I'm also a formerly incarcerated individual who spent half of his young life in prison. So that's what I bring to the table. I'm here to talk about the way we've been doing business. The way we've been doing business in regards to not even having a vacancy for a position, an impacted member. You're missing a lot of rich information and insightful information that can help us, change some of these systemic barriers that we've been enchained by. We already know that a lot of this funding has been going too much in enforcing laws and incarcerating people, and this is creating a lot of abuse on people who don't have housing, on people who have severe mental health issues, on people that commit horrible crimes based on the severe trauma that they've suffered and the lack of effective treatment that's been afforded to them. Why? Because we lack enough resources. We don't have enough money as grassroots organizations to do this work. We don't have money to hire staff to do effective quality work. I also would recommend that we start looking more on funding community-based organizations that are actually doing the work, and that we also audit a lot of the way that business is being done in regards to these committees, so that we can focus more on treatment and decarcerating people. We also want to ask that we find alternatives to incarcerating folks. There's a lot of people that don't belong in there that could fight their case from outside. They're just waiting court dates. We don't need these people in there during this epidemic. Allow these people to be out here. If they have jobs, if they have families, they have responsibilities. They need to be in these areas where they can be effective and handle business and not be consumed, where you have no rights, where you can't even do your own legal research to represent yourself in court. So for too long, we've been getting abused a lot from these systems, and I would also recommend that we put somebody in that position that's actually going to voice what really needs to be voiced amongst the people that are in this committee. I know there's a lot of challenges we all face, and we all have different views. But in order to be effective, we have to have an open mind. We have to be transparent, and we have to do effective research to make sure that the services that are out there are afforded based through navigators and people that can gap. But unfortunately, that's not happening either. There's a lot of money coming out to help our people, but a lot of the people that need this help are not even aware that these services out there. So we need more outreach teams and navigators in the system to make effective changes, especially during this crisis and epidemic that we're struggling to. We also want to see.
Can we please get your final comments?
In conclusion, I want to see some of this data be on recidivism published, and so we want to implement a more meaningful public engagement, not just short meetings with an hour. An hour doesn't afford enough of over 30 years of oppression. Thank you. My name is Henry Ortiz. Bye.
Thank you.
Please send down the next call. Hi, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Pamela Emilymanuel, and I can only speak from my experience of being held at Sacramento County Jail. Out of 33 months, I was there for 31 months, and the jails are really horrific. They're inhumane, and I really, truly believe that if you make something more available for people instead of incarcerating them, your outcome will be so much more better.
Thank you.
Okay, please send down the next call. Hi, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tsansofa, and I am a community member, and I work with Decarcerate SAC, and recently we did a jail support for 12 hours in front of the jail last Monday, and we were trying to do jail support on Friday too, but the information got out to us, didn't come out to us soon enough, so we scrambled to try to get things together. But by Monday, we were prepared to have resources ready with the donations from many community members like SAC Homeless Union, people who had already seen our work, and the Public Defender's Office as well. And we were able to hand out, we were able to allow people to charge their phones. and get people snacks, get people rides home. And people were really grateful that we were there. People who were even passing by and family members of incarcerated ones were really grateful that we were there. Because most times people who are let out really don't even have shoelaces, don't know how to get home because they weren't able to get a ride. I mean, some weren't even given masks. And while I was there doing mutual aid for incarcerated folks getting out of jail, people going into the court weren't allowed to go in because they didn't have masks, and which I understand, but I don't understand why the courts or the jail weren't providing masks for people in the first place. And yeah, so I think it's great that we are finally getting public input, but it's been about 7 years, and so I don't see y'all really doing enough to make up for the lack of input over the 7 years. And where's the money? Why isn't jail support, like stuff like jail support, already in place when there's so much money to do this type of work? So I don't understand. It's been 7 years, and I wonder what the district attorney, the sheriff's department, probation, and other departments have done over 7 years to reduce jail population. It's been
Can we
7
please
years,
get your
so-
final comments?
Yeah, so I think, finally moving in the right direction, and I want to see accountability and transparency in where the money has gone in the past 7 years and where we're going to go from here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, please send down the next caller. Hi, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comment. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Pamela Emanuel, and I'm the daughter of the previous Pamela Emanuel who had just spoken. And I would like to talk about the ripple effects of incarceration, and not just, it doesn't affect people who are inside, but it also affects their families. There's multiple people who, when they go inside and they get incarcerated, they develop new mental health illnesses that they did not have before, just because the inside of those jails is so traumatic. When someone is suffering from a mental health crisis, you guys have these mandates in place, but none of them actually work. My mom has seen multiple people pass away while being incarcerated, and that has affected her mental health, but it also has affected mine as well. This is a very special time where we can be thinking about new ways of rehabilitating people, and that is not putting them in walls. You want to be able to prevent someone from being incarcerated, you have to put money into the community. So from there, people won't have chances of, doing things for the means of survival because they can just live in society. Also, I think there should be more transparency of where these funds are going. The community should be directly involved on how these funds are being spent, because in reality, this is the community's money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief Seal, that was your last. Oh, hold on 1 second. We do have one more call. Please send the next call down. Hi, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Niki, and I'm calling in just to encourage this body and to be in solidarity with folks who are locked up inside, our jail here in Sacramento County and jails across the state. Our conditions, both in the jail and out in the community under, whether it's e-carceration or just regular probation that puts people, takes away so many folks' liberties in so many ways, and puts them, particularly for me, like folks who are living outside, puts them at so much risk of police violence and contact, that what you all have created for the last 7 years without community input has been just to reinforce the cycles of poverty and incarceration without hearing from the community about what kind of harm that has caused them, and without doing what it takes to invest in the type of communities that can heal each other and themselves. And that's, folks are calling in, we're asking that you do something better than you've been doing. What you've been doing is trash, and what we need, and when I say trash, I mean it's harmful. It's causing harm in people's lives, in their families, and in our community, because when it happens to one individual or family member in our community, that reverberates throughout our community. And so when we have things, when we invest into the practices that create healing and wholeness in individuals in our community, that healing and wholeness reverberates in our community. And what I know and what I've seen is that both, all of this money, 109 money going into law enforcement instead of community, means that we're having that reverberation of harm instead of that reverberation of healing. And that's on y'all. Y'all are doing that. And the community is doing everything it can to be whole, to stay whole, and to find healing. And it's time y'all had their backs and put your money where your mouth is. It's really frustrating to hear the type of propaganda and rhetoric that you'll use without the action to back it up. And what we need is people out of that toxic jail. We need people on pretrial out of that jail. It's the risk of COVID exposure and death is so unmitigated that having people inside there is just a death sentence, and it's not safe, and it's not okay. And,
Can we please get your final comments?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think what my final comment would be is that we need to be looking at this in a completely different way, and just focusing on the community's voice, people who are impacted, people who are inside, who've been inside, and who know what they actually need, because y'all don't know what they need, and you haven't been giving to them. You've been harming them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, please send down the next call. Hi, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. You have 2 minutes. Please start your comments.
Hi, my name is Zoe Kipping. I'm the co-founder of SAC Soup, which is Sacramento Solidarity of Unhoused People, a mutual aid group that formed after COVID-19 hit. We've been doing outreach at encampments and throughout the city for 10 months now. And for the last 3 weeks, I've been working as a librarian at Loaves and Fishes Sacramento. And as I get to know our campus and our guests and our programs, it really strikes me how I already knew that poverty was criminalized, but it is very clear. We have an outdoor COVID-safe place where our guests can charge their electric ankle monitors. And mostly male guests sit there and they charge their ankle monitors for several hours in the cold while wearing masks. And we have a program for jail visitation and legal clinic, and we see people who come out of jail with nothing, no shoelaces, no jacket, no mask, no hygiene, and we help supply them with things and get them on their feet. And that's in the building that I share with the campus library, which of course is not open now due to COVID. But it just strikes me that there are so many ways that you could use money and input from the community to help people go through the parole and probation process, or go through pretrial detention in ways that set them up for success, whether that's providing monthly bus passes, phone chargers, connecting people with basic services so that they can participate in a way that fulfills their legal rights under the Constitution. So, I stand with Decarcerate and other community groups that are calling for divestment and community-based programs. I also think that there are many ways that you could spend money that would help people who are economically vulnerable and unsheltered in ways that would make the carceral system and the probation and parole system, or the pretrial system, less onerous and more humane, in ways that they don't need to go to an outdoor respite center to charge their ankle bracelet outdoors in the freezing cold or in the rain. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, please send down the next call. Hi, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comment. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, honest question for all of you that are on this committee. Are you actually listening to the callers that are in the community that is expressing its pain and frustration with this partnership? Do you actually care? I say this a lot to our elected officials in Sacramento City and county on how actions speak louder than words. And I hear a lot of talk from the vast majority of you, especially the who's who of oppressors that sit, majority of whom are all in Sacramento PD and Sacramento Sheriff's Department or corrections and probation. But I have yet to actually see anything that you've talked about, whether tonight or in any previous CCP meeting, actually reflected in your actions. It's not reflected in your practices, which is why you have literally been sitting on your hands, doing nothing for community engagement for the past 7 years. You've literally let one of your positions that could have gotten to an actual community member that's not in law enforcement, that's not in county government, participate in this. You just didn't. There's no valid excuse. There's no amount of fucking work that prevents you from filling a simple seat or engaging with the public for 7 fucking years. You know what you did was fucked up. I don't believe you actually care. So rather than telling us that this position is open and telling us you're going to work to do better, stop telling us that. Just show it. It isn't hard. There are millions of people that do that every fucking day. Even in your fucking departments, I'll bet. But they are stymied by the simple culture of corruption and fucking racism. Looking at you, Scott Jones, that just refuses to change anything that might disturb your fucking comfort.
Can we please get your final comments?
I'd like to know how the CCP and the $50 million in annual funding will directly reduce the jail population. Don't tell me how you're going to do it. Show me. Show me how you're going show me how you're going to make this funding effective. Have there even been any audits in this funding? That could be a first fucking step of actually showing us the audit. Show us the information that we need so that community can actually make honest decisions, give informed consent.
Caller, can you please wrap up your comments?
Get your fucking shit together, committee, or just resign. Quit and end this fucking farce. Because honestly, it's fucking bullshit, and we're fed up with it.
Chief Seal, we have one more call in the queue. Do you want to keep the queue open?
I think we'll take this final call and then wrap up tonight. Thank you.
Could you send down the next call, please? Hello, caller. You are live in the CCP meeting. Please start your comments. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Robin, and I'm just calling. I've been listening to all the wonderful comments left by so many fellow community members, friends, and comrades, and basically just wanted to support everything that has been said. But also wanted to lift up what Edward Salas had said earlier, I believe, about community engagement. And I appreciate the fact that you're now finally getting a community member kind of on board with this, but I really feel like that's not enough. You really need to engage the community, like Edward was saying, that, yes, it's great to have a community member on this board, but to really engage the community in community corrections and community safety. We need to hear from the community about that on a regular basis. It's called a workshop today. And so I would assume that would be engagement, asking questions, getting responses, asking other questions. Here we get to share 2 minutes. You hear our comments. You may respond to them, but then that's it. We have no more engagement. That community participation is over, and so that really shouldn't be taking place like that. If you're truly wanting community engagement, to deal with things about helping people to get back on their feet, to avoid incarceration, and to help create safe communities where everybody can thrive and grow together. So I would really hope that you consider that and look to develop true community engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I want to thank the callers for your comments tonight. We do listen to your comments, and as I said before, we have several submissions of email comments as well, which we will consider also. As I said, we consider this just a first step towards responding to community desire for greater input and greater participation in this process. I do highly encourage interested parties who have expressed a desire tonight to either yourself or encourage others to please take the opportunity to participate in the AB 109 work plan. That really is an opportunity for ongoing, real, meaningful engagement to help shape the AB 109 plan. The application process, as we said, is open. It is on our website. It is linked to materials that are publicly available on the county's website and on the probation department's website. We encourage you to apply. I mention once again that the due date is January 27th at 5 p.m. So please do this quickly. The application process is not onerous. As we made clear, the role on the CCP is for a community-based provider of rehabilitative services, as we detailed tonight. So we're statutorily limited to considering persons who fit that description. That's for participation on the CCP. But in response to community concerns, we have specifically put preference on formerly incarcerated persons to participate in the development of the AB 109 work plan. So if that is something that fits your interest level and your background, we encourage you to apply. At this time, let me first turn to Catherine, and then I'll turn to any final comments from CCP members before we close tonight's meeting. Catherine, is there anything that we should add or point out before we wrap up tonight?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. Any final comments from any of my fellow CCP members who have listened with us? We appreciate you hearing from the community tonight and your telephonic participation. Any comments or input from any fellow CCP members?
Lee, Steve Garrett, I would just like to, I heard one caller ask, are we listening? And the answer is yes, I am listening. Secondly, I want to personally thank the people in the community who helped our community members who were being released from jail with services when there was a large release to help the sheriff manage the population. We appreciated their cooperation. I also believe the sheriff's office appreciated their cooperation, and the help was invaluable. Thank you to them.
Thank you. I share that sentiment. Any other comments from CCP members?
Chief, I'm sorry, we do have one off-agenda caller on the line.
Let me come to that in just a second. Any other CCP members wishing to comment tonight? Okay, we'll go a little bit out of order. We'll take one more call, and then we're going to wrap up. Go ahead and let's listen to the caller.
Actually, the caller is hung up.
Okay, so we lost that final call. Let me say this. I want to echo Steve Garrett's comment, our public defender, and I know I speak for all the members of the CCP that we truly are sincere in our efforts to be responsive to the community, and we consider tonight's step to be just one step in that direction. It's certainly not just a checkbox where we're going to do this and consider that our final opportunity for community participation. I know that my department is already taking steps for future workshops. We have at least 2 further ones to meaningfully engage with the public and gain public participation. And we want to certainly do more of that and see that increased. I will say that we have had annual CCP meetings with some cancellations. We've obviously been in the middle of the pandemic, and there has been prior participation for community input at those meetings. But I do believe that over the last couple of years, there's just simply been increased interest, and we welcome that. We appreciate that. But it is not the case that there has not been any prior ability to participate before. We've invited reports on outcomes that are publicly reported, our participation in with PPIC, which is an effort by the Sheriff's Department and the Probation Department and others to make data available and publicly available. They've reported to the CCP. There's been opportunities for community input and comment on those meetings. Those reports are still available. They're publicly available, I believe, both on our website and the PPIC's website. And I know that we are making greater efforts to put data online in response, in part to some of the community input that we've heard, both pretrial data and other publicly available data about some of our programs, and we see those efforts continuing. So I will make one other comment, not trying to comment on all that we heard tonight, but I will make one point just because it was made earlier in the evening as part of our presentation, and that is that the CCP does not make decisions about budget and fiscal allocations. That is the province of the Board of Supervisors. That's part of our normal summer budget process, which, again, there are plenty of opportunities for public participation in that. But for those of you who may be wondering why we're not putting information out about our budgetary decisions, it's because we do not, as a CCP, make those budgetary decisions. What we make are programmatic priorities available, descriptions of our plans, and plans for what we think those priorities and decision points should be. So again, my final message to the community is please join us in participating in this process. Visit our website, and if you're interested, please submit an application. And with that, I want to thank everyone on the CCP. I want to thank the callers who called in tonight. We are listening, and with all of that, close tonight's meeting, and we look forward to your future participation. And as I said, next time at our formal CCP meeting, which will be on February 4th. We'll see you then. Thank you, everybody.